Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Centennial Lecture Series, UP View from Outside. This afternoon's lecture is entitled Media Power and People Power, Citizens, Journalists, and the University in the Internet Age. We would like to repeat that all lectures will be beamed live to the following UP campuses: UP Manila, UP Los Baños, UP Visayas in Miagao, Cebu, and Tacloban, UP Mindanao, UP Baguio, and the UP Open University, and webcast through the internet for wider coverage. Audience from all over the world may also send in their questions later via Skype. Before we start the program, let me reiterate our request to our audience here in UP Diliman to please turn off your cell phones, as even the buzzing sounds from phones on silent mode will interfere with our sound system. Thank you. Please rise for the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyat ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka masisigil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baka, ay nilatang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagtitigil. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng maraming pagsikta, ay hayangin sa dilim mo. Ang ligaya na pag may mamapit, ang namatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Today, we hold another important event to celebrate UP Centennial. I think most of you are aware that we have lined up a series of events to mark this important milestone in the life of UP. We are organizing celebration activities, fundraising activities, and other activities to promote or project UP to the outside world. But the centerpiece of UP Centennial celebration is actually the UP Centennial Lecture Series. After all, UP is an academic institution, and because it is, a good part of commemorating its birthday is to get scholars, experts, and distinguished individuals to share with us their thoughts on UP or their views on burning issues of the day. 4 categories make up the lecture series. One set of lectures will be delivered by insiders. They will present to us their views on UP, its successes and achievements, its faults and shortcomings. From them, we will get the view from inside. Another set will be delivered by those who are not part of our community, but who we believe take an interest in our university. They will share with us their insights on our vision, our mission, as they are perceived by the larger community. From them, we will get the view from outside. The third set of lectures will be by experts, both from UP and from other institutions, who will talk about national and global issues such as global warming, poverty alleviation, indigenous peoples, state of Philippine education, status of women, peace and conflict resolution, etc. And finally, for the 4th category, we will feature distinguished individuals who, through their life work, have attained great distinction in their respective fields. as an institution tasked not just with producing new knowledge and disseminating existing knowledge, but also with the shaping of the minds of a future generation of leaders, we felt it was important for us to have this lecture series and provide our faculty and students with the opportunity to listen to what our scholars, experts, and invited guests have to say. Today, we have the privilege of listening to what a friend of UP has to say about the university. To our speaker, thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of this lecture series. We are honored by your presence. And to all who are here, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, President Roman. To introduce this afternoon's Centennial lecturer, may I call on Professor of Communication and Dean of the College of Mass Communication, Dr. Elena E. Pernia.
Philippine media has played significant roles in the life of this nation, and the University of the Philippines, through its alumni who are among media's movers and shakers, have helped shape Philippine media through the years. This afternoon's lecturer is one such mover and shaker, Philippine journalism's Sheila Coronel. Sheila Coronel was the 2003 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee for Journalism, Literature, and Creative Communication Arts. Her citation, the Ramon Magsaysay Award citation for her, is the best way to introduce her this afternoon, and I read from it. Even in a freewheeling democracy like the Philippines, can a free press truly stand free? Despite the absence of censorship, many factors mitigate against it. Newspapers and other media outlets tailor the news to sell and to advance the interests of their owners. Governments also seek to shape the news. So do politicians, tycoons, and the military. It is hard to stand free of such forces, yet Sheila Coronel believes the press must strive to do so. Philippine democracy needs an honest watchdog. As leader of the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, she has strengthened her country's fourth estate. Filipinos tend to agree that the press should be feisty and free, and so it was in the early decades of Philippine independence. Coronel was only 14, however, when President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law in 1972 and gagged the country's press. She took up political science at the University of the Philippines and intended to study the law. As her father became compelling to be a journalist, she never looked back. In the mid-80s, Coronel covered the movement to bring Marcos down and emerged as one of the bright young chroniclers of the EDSA revolution. Afterwards, she sealed her reputation at the Manila Chronicle with probing stories presented in flawless English. Her work appeared in the New York Times and the Guardian of England. Growing frustrated with the constraints of conventional newsroom, in 1989, she and 8 like-minded reporters founded the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, PCIJ. Coronel became executive director only by default, she says. Even so, except for 1 year, she has led the center since. Investigative journalism requires painstaking research. Reporters conduct extensive interviews and spend hours and days poring over government, bank, and court documents, business records, and electronic databases. At the center, Coronel and her partners use techniques like these to develop in-depth stories of public interest and to probe subjects ordinarily held secret behind layers of power. They then marketed the stories through the mainstream press. Meanwhile, through fellowships and training programs, the center mentored younger reporters in the tools of the trade. Finding its stride under Coronel, PCIJ plumbed the state of the nation. It probed attempts by military power grabbers and their political allies to overthrow President Corazon Aquino. It exposed the role of officials and politicians and military men in massive illegal logging operations. It examined the suffocating grip of political clans and bosses on Philippine towns and provinces. And it exposed shocking corruption in the Supreme Court, in the President's cabinet, in government agencies, and in the country's newsrooms. The center spared no legitimate target, and year by year, it gained credibility. This became clear when PCIJ's scrupulous reporting played a key role in scrutinizing the anomalies of Joseph Estrada's presidency and helped set the stage for the president's eventual impeachment and dramatic ouster. Coronel avoids publicity and applies herself tirelessly to the work of the center. Hundreds of articles and many books and documentary films and PCIJ's own magazine testify to the center's remarkable productivity and influence under her management. They also reflect her hopeful commitment to Philippine democracy. We are not as cynical about our audience as many others are, she says. We believe in the power of an informed citizenry. In electing Sheila Coronel to receive the 2003 Ramon Magsaysay Award for Journalism, Literature, and the Creative Communication Arts, the Board of Trustees recognizes her leading a groundbreaking, collaborative effort to develop investigative journalism as a critical component of democratic discourse in the Philippines. These days, Sheila Coronel finds herself as professor at the Graduate School of Journalism at Columbia University and head of the Tony Stabile Center for Investigative Journalism there. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sheila Coronel.
Thank you, Dean Pernia, for that wonderful introduction. President Roman, the other officers, officials of the University of the Philippines, faculty members, students, friends, fellow journalists, sa mga nasa ibang unit ng UP, sa Manila, sa Cebu, sa Baguio, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. It's great to be here. UP is many things to me, but it is first and foremost the place where I practiced real journalism for the very first time. That was 30 years ago. In 1978, I joined the staff of the Philippine Collegian. That year, Ferdinand Marcos called the first election for a sham parliament, the Batasang Pambansa. Imelda Marcos led the kilusang bagong lipunan ticket for Metro Manila against the Laban ticket that included Ninoy Aquino, Nene Pimentel, Alex Boncayao, and Charito Planas. It was the first election I had ever voted in. Marcos and the KBL cheated shamelessly. It was not the first time they would do so, nor would it be the last. On April 6, 1978, Manila exploded in a noise barrage against the regime. Everywhere, cars, buses, and jeepneys honked their horns. From the slums of Manila to its gated villages, residents banged pots and pans. Many took to the streets and marched in protest, risking arrest and prison. It was unlike anything I had ever seen or heard before. I was hooked. History was being made, and I wanted to witness it. I wanted to be there when it happened. News has many uses, but to me, among the most important functions of journalism are its witnessing and catalyzing functions. Journalists are society's